Dear Ahmed Abdel-Samad, a very warm welcome to you. It's an honor to have you back in the Free Press Society. In short, you are a German-Egyptian political scientist and author, the son of a Muslim Sunni imam, and you came to Germany in 1995 at the age of 23. You have studied Japanese, English, and French, as well as political science. You work as a scholar and are now a full-time writer. You became known to the German public through your book Mein Abschied vom Himmel, My Farewell from Heaven. Following the publication of the book in Egypt, a group issued a fatwa against you and you were put under police protection. In your book, Islamic Fascism, you describe Islam as a fascist ideology under the cover of religion. Your curriculum vitae is absolutely stunning. I'm starstruck. And you even have your own YouTube channel, which is almost entirely in Arabic. The channel was deleted by YouTube without comment in 2019, but fortunately, due to the numerous heavy protests from Germany and Egypt, the channel was restored. You make a great difference in this world with your clear and rational and empathetic voice. With these words, I'll leave the floor to you.
Thank you, Lone. Tak. Jeg snakker ikke dansk, so I will start in English or German, you choose. I think English might be better. It's great to be in Copenhagen again. I love this town so much and I always feel happy to be here, to breathe this air. I feel this city has a history of freedom and civil courage, and I hope that this freedom and the civil courage will never go down, and as long as there are courageous people like you, I'm confident that such is not going to be the case. I'm also happy to be in this very historic place that has a lot to do with Danish enlightenment and education system and civil society that is so tightly connected to Grundtvig, one of the figures which are unique in history, in fact, as a religious person, but at the same time a person dedicated to knowledge and enlightenment and freedom. And I remember from the Danish history the famous saying after Denmark lost the war against Germany. I think it was Grundtvig who said, "What we lost in the land, we have to restore in the minds and in the heart." This is one of the sentences that are telling a lot about the story and the spirit of this country. One thing else Grundtvig said that I sign and I accept immediately when he was saying to the people, be a human first and then be a Christian or whatever. So this is the basics upon this society is built, and that's what I love about Europe in general and about the Scandinavian countries in particular and about Copenhagen very specifically. I love this town, especially in July and August. I cannot stand the city in the other months because I'm very sensitive to cold weather. And I would like to thank the Free Press Society for inviting me now for the second or the third time, I think. Yeah, third time, because you invited me also in Bornholm. And it's good to see people who are still interested in freedom. I have the impression that freedom is not having a big fan society or fan club right now all over the world. People are talking about interests, are talking about pragmatism, are talking about realities, but freedom as such, as the core that made this continent Europe, that made Denmark, I have the feeling that freedom is not having a big fan club right now. Therefore, I'm very thankful to be surrounded by people like you who are interested in this freedom and in defending this freedom of expression. I love Denmark also because it's the country of the Muhammad cartoons. This book about Muhammad that I wrote wouldn't have come out. To the first thought to write this book came to me after the cartoon crisis happened in Denmark. I saw the reactions in the Muslim world, I saw the reactions in Europe, and I was asking myself, why is it like that? Muhammad is dead for more than 1,400 years ago, and we are still fighting if to paint him or to write something about him. Is there any other figure in history that we are treating like that? Does Muhammad deserve to be protected and immune against criticism and painting and satire? And my answer was no, and therefore I came up with the idea of writing a book analyzing Muhammad. And I liked the debate in Denmark about the cartoons, because this debate in Denmark was showing that almost 50% refused the cartoons and almost 50% said it's the right thing to do. And both, for me, are important for freedom. Why? Because one part of the society is insisting on freedom of speech, no matter what. And another part of the society, maybe we disagree with this part, but those people, they didn't want the cartoons because they wanted a tolerant society where everybody is accepted, where no feelings are hurt. That's also a good thing that we should also appreciate. Should not be angry on the people on the other side of the spectrum because they show this society is better. This society is humanistic. So I am on the side of those who say, paint Muhammad and make fun out of him. But I respect so much those who say, no, we should not hurt the feelings of believers. We should live in peace together. So these two parts are in fact good assets for the Danish society. Those who are fighting for freedom of speech and are unapologetic about, and those who want a tolerant society with peaceful coexistence. So don't be sad when the other side is angry or is accusing you, because this other side is wanting a peaceful society too. Maybe they don't understand the whole story. And there are, of course, a few people in the middle who refuse the cartoons because they are afraid or because they are opportunistic. We don't want to talk about those people. They exist too. But I liked what happened in Denmark. It's very important to have such debate, to know where we are standing as a society, and to know the value of freedom. I myself, I had a long story trying to find my freedom. And when we were discussing what I'm going to talk about today, so we reached this agreement that I will start talking about my life, how I became who I am today. And then I can talk about the book and how it was received in Germany. And maybe after the coffee pause or the break, I hear this word coffee pause so many times here. So I was once waiting for to do something in a bank long time ago, and just like the lady was closing the window in front of my face and saying, "Coffee pause." So I knew this is very respected moment. I should not. So don't take the coffee away from the public servant. So after we have the break, maybe we can talk about the German election and the situation in Germany, and whatever questions you have about Islam, about Germany, or about myself. I grew up in a village in Egypt, in the Nile Delta. My father was an imam, as you heard. I was supposed to be his successor, to be the next imam in this village. I learned the Quran by heart, and I studied the biography of Muhammad. I studied the Islamic traditions. And at a certain point when I grew up as a teenager, I had to ask myself a very serious question. First question was, is this job making my father happy or making him a good person? And the answer was no. And the second question is, can I do what is he doing? Can I sell the people paradise and good stories and comfort while I myself am full of doubts and questions? And I figured out I'm different. The question is more important for me than the answer. I didn't know where this is coming from, because around me, the answer was important, more important than the question. And I start asking questions about this God that they are offering us, and about the Quran. And I started to have some discussions with my father about God. And I asked him a simple question: why do I have to accept this religion and this God just because everybody else did? Just because we inherited this religion generation by generation? Why can't I just go out and search for God by myself? And then he said about the prophets searched for God and found him. And I told him, they found their God. I want to find my own God. What's wrong about searching for God by myself? And then I start to ask questions. Why is this God so angry? Why is he so sad that I don't believe in him, that he is threatening me to throw me in hell if I don't believe in him? So if I want to invite someone to my house, I cannot tell him, come to my house, I will make a good turkey for you in the oven, and I will offer you a good dinner, but then if you don't come, I will put you instead of the turkey in the oven. It doesn't make sense. So I suppose if there is God, he must be standing above all of these things. He must be very tolerant, accepting, and he should not be like a child. If you don't come to my party, I'm going to burn you, or I'm going to hate you forever. I'm going to curse you, or I'm going to send my believers to kill you. So these things were reinforcing my doubts about this God. So my father wanted me to be the next imam, but I was interested more in foreign languages and girls. So it didn't go together. You cannot be an imam and study French literature and be interested in girls. So I had to make another choice. So I saw in the structure of my family that I don't want to be a part of this. I had a sister who was very pretty and very smart, and she was a singer, but no one knew that she was a singer except me in the family. She was singing secretly because the daughter of the imam is not allowed to sing. And I saw she could have a great career, go to school, go to university, maybe become a famous singer because she had a lovely voice, but she couldn't. Because this society, the maximum she can reach in this society is to get a good husband and marry, and this would be the end of her career or her life, that she will be a mother for the rest of her life from the age of 16. And this is what happened to her. She became a mother in the age of 16 and a half, and she became a grandmother in the age of 33, and she became a grandmother at the age of 52. This is her story, and it's the story of so many women who grew up in such a village or in such a society, and the tradition and the religion didn't offer her any way out. So I knew as a teenager, this is unfair. This should not happen. And I knew I don't belong here and I want to move. So I moved to Cairo, I studied English literature and so on. But there is something about religion in our society. It's everywhere, and it is like malaria. Once you have it, you cannot really get rid of it. So after a while, everything around me is defined by religion and God's will. So you feel strange as a stranger in a society if you are not religious. So I was discovered by the Muslim Brotherhood, this radical Islamist group, the mother of all terror organizations in the region. And they told me, brother, you know the Quran, your father is imam, you are perfect. You can change Egypt with us. We want freedom for our country. And I said, yes, revolution. The Islam of my father was like from up to down, like the Islam of authority. But then this was the liberation Islam, like it was the revolution Islam. I love that. I want to be a part of this project, liberation through Islam. So I joined them, and they want to free Egypt, and then free Jerusalem, and then free all the Arab countries and all the Islamic countries, and make the caliphate, and make everybody equal, and like there will be milk and honey everywhere in the Islamic world. I said, that's great. I want to be a part of that. So I joined them, and I was a very dedicated member, and until one day they took us to a summer camp, and they asked us to walk in the desert for a long time until we were in the middle of summer. It was very hot, until we were sweating, until we were very thirsty. In the middle of the desert, they said, go down on your knees, and they gave each one of us an orange. And I was thinking, this is a symbol of paradise. I have an orange, I peel the orange, I eat the orange, and I know all the suffering we had in the desert was not in vain. It was to reach this moment, to eat the fruit. And then they asked us, peel the orange. We did. And they said, put the fruit in the sand and bury it, and eat the peeling of the orange. We all did. We had no choice. And I ate it, and I felt bitter in my throat, in my tongue, and I still do whenever I tell this story. And I figured out what it's all about. It's about breaking you as a human being. It's about breaking your will as an individual. It's about making you a robot that will just move according to what they want. There was nothing about liberation, nothing about freedom, nothing about revolution. It was about incorporation, about just brainwashing you with dirty water. That's what was happening. And that's what many young people, young Muslims in the Islamic world and in Europe are experiencing every day. They get brainwashed with dirty water. Their freedom is taken away in the name of dignity, in the name of Islam, in the name of the ummah, the community, but in fact they get nothing in return. They get only illusions that one day they will end up in paradise. They will get only illusions that they are on the right path. They hate others because they think that God is on their side and that God hates the others too. So if God hates the others, why should I love them? Why should I cooperate with them? Why should I be a part of their society? This is how it works. So, this was the day I decided to leave the Muslim Brotherhood and to live in another society. So I decided to come to Europe and study and live in freedom, but still, it's not just you leave a country of unfreedom and you become free. Freedom, there is something tricky about freedom. You have to live it, you have to long for it, you have to walk behind it, and you have to defend it every single day of your life. Freedom is not a matter of course that you are born in. No, freedom is an attitude towards life, towards yourself, towards the society you live in. Freedom is a passion. It's not just because you are born in a free society that you are automatically free. No, you can be in a free society but have a lot of bars, a lot of hindrances, a lot of obstacles that keeps you angry all the time. If you are only angry, you cannot be free. If you are only upset at others, you can never be free. So the freedom is not just you can do what you want. The freedom is, first, you know what you want. And you know it is you. It's not because your father told you, or your mother, or your teacher. I like so much the way the education functions in many Scandinavian countries, especially here in Denmark, that there is something beyond school for kids to go. It used to be, I don't know if it's still there, like the freedom houses or Freiheitsheim or something like that. That kids go on their own and make their day and make choices. The word selbstständig, self-independent or being independent, selbstständig. This is very important to teach the kids from the beginning to be selbstständig, to be independent, to make their own choices and to take the responsibility for their choices. We didn't have this chance in Egypt to be selbstständig, to take responsibility. Everybody is hiding behind somebody else who is making the decision for him. No matter if this is in a religious context or in a political context. You are never really left on your own to make your own choices, to make your own mistakes, and to embrace your mistakes and learn from them. We learn mistakes means hell, means God is angry, father is angry, teacher is angry, policeman is angry. But here, I learned this is possible. It's possible to make mistakes, and these mistakes become a part of your treasure in life because you learn something out of them. I learned that I need to have a distance to my origin, to my history, to my culture, to my religion, and even to myself. This is the core idea of enlightenment. To have a distance to your own group, to have a distance to your own past, your own history, to your own religion and nation. Not to hate them or not to negate them, but to optimize them, to make them better, to make yourself better. The more you are identifying with an idea or with a nation or with a religion, the more you cannot be objective. You don't see the mistakes and the flaws in this culture. So the Enlightenment came with this very brilliant idea. Take a step back and watch it clearly. Maybe you are not right. Maybe your people are not right. Maybe your group is not right. So this individualism was like a virus that I was catching. I loved that because I was born like this. And when I was reading these thoughts, when I was reading Kierkegaard and Sartre and Nietzsche, I was figuring out, those are my people. I'm not so far away from them. I think the way they think. I see things the way, by myself, without even being taught that at school. So it was a revelation for me. This was like a religious moment for me, that I figured out I belong here more than I belong to my family. So that was a very important moment. Many people are asking me, where do you get this passion to live like this, live under police protection all the time, to be attacked by so many people? That's my passion. I feel I am in my element. I am in the middle of something I'm really passionate about. It's me. Wherever I go, it's me. Whatever language I write, it's me. And that gives me this energy. And this makes difference. It moves me a lot when I know that young Muslims everywhere in the world listening to me, and they write to me that I've changed their lives. I write them back, no one changes anybody's life. It was in you. The seed is in you. The question was in you. Follow this question and it can lead you to something good. No one, I'm not a prophet, because I cannot leave a religion and just like come and establish a new religion and do so as if I am saving souls. I could hardly save mine. So, this place, this continent, was offering me this opportunity to give a third dimension to my spirit, to my soul, and to know that it's worth it to be free in the soul, to be free in the mind, and just to say what I want. It took a lot until I could step really back and leave all of these legends and holy books behind me and just figure out I can live without all of these lies. I can live without these illusions. I can live without these authorities that are trying to, quite hot, sorry. Thank you. So one day I was in the library in my university. I wanted to write something about the Quran and the Prophet Muhammad. I was still a student. Until now, I'm still a Muslim. I'm still believing Muhammad was a prophet and God was talking to him and everything. And then I was just reading in the library. I was searching for a German translation of the Quran. So it was before the digitalization. I'm a little bit old. So I was finding this card of this book, and I was looking, and it was written, name of the book, the Quran, author unknown. So I was just saying, what? And I was thinking a lot about this moment. Author unknown? We all know God is the author of this book. So. But then I was thinking about, from an academic point of view, it's absurd to say the author's name is God, because we need a family name. So there is the only first name, so it's not good. And they cannot say Muhammad is the author of the Quran, otherwise Muslims will be angry. Because Muslims believe the Quran is the book of God, not of Muhammad. So this just small moment was leading me to the question, wait a minute. How do we know this is from God? There are so many books, there are so many people who say that God was talking to him. And then the very simple questions. Why do we need somebody in between us and God if God wants to communicate with us? And if God is so clever in hiding, why should I make effort to find him? So he's cleverer than me. He can hide better than I do. I search. So it doesn't make sense really for me to go and search for God through somebody who lived 1,400 years ago, who tell me God talked to him but didn't talk to me. So it didn't work. So this is a serious question, serious problem. And I start researching this book called the Quran. Where is it coming? And I was so surprised when I figured out the Quran is nothing but a collection of so many stories that existed before the Quran too. You would find Jewish stories, you'll find Christian stories, you will find Greek stories, you will find Syriac, Aramaic stories, you'll find old Iraqi and old Egyptian stories. And I just put in a good poetic language, and that's it. This is one part of the Quran. And the second part, the Quran is a reflection of the psychology of a man called Muhammad, who was a poet, who was an outsider, who was very sensitive, who was having dreams about reforming his community, changing the society, but also who was having some kind of diseases like narcissism, and who needed approval. He grew up as an orphan, without father and without a mother. He was not recognized in his tribe, so he needed something to gain him a community and the recognition that he never had in his life. So the Quran is reflecting Muhammad's psychology about women and about the others. And so it's, if you forget that it's a book from God, it becomes a very interesting book in describing the psychology of a human being. And that was leading me to write this book that you now have in Danish language. It's good, by the way, to have a book published in Danish. Other books of mine are published in Norwegian. The other one will be published in Swedish very soon, so things are moving. And it's not a matter of course anymore, in fact, to publish such a book in Europe, in the continent of Voltaire and Grundtvig and Kierkegaard and Rousseau and John Locke. It's not a matter of course anymore to publish a book about Muhammad, a historic figure, and to be critical. So that's one of the motivations that led me to write this book. That I was reading the books written by the Islamic scholars and Islamic study professors, especially the Western one, and I had the feeling that they were touching Muhammad with gloves. Oh, take care. Don't say something that might hurt the feelings of Muslims. And I said, this is not the European academia I know. They are severe when it comes to historic figures. They analyze everything. They see the flaws before they see the good things. But when it comes to Muhammad, he was having some wars, but that was normal in his time. He was dealing with women but that was normal his time. Everything that was in the context of his time, everything was fine. I said no. Even in the context of his time, he was not the noble good man. The only thing that made him look like that is he was victorious. He took the power in Arabia, and his successors wrote the history. That's it. But even according to the criteria of his time, he committed many crimes. it was not usual in Arabia that a man would divorce the wife of his son to marry her himself. It was not normal to marry a 6-year-old girl during that time. People say, people used to do so. Who do you know in history who has done so? No, they didn't. We know the story of all of his friends. None of them married a 6-year-old girl. We know that this is what Muslims wrote. I'm not talking about the historic Muhammad. I'm writing what Muslims see him and write that you read in every mosque. That he was killing more than 600 to 900 war prisoners who were not having any weapons. This was not usual in his time. So these are crimes according to the criteria of his time, from the literature of his time. So that's what I was figuring out, and I was saying, okay, I want to analyze this Muhammad and see, first of all, why is he dealing with women that way? Why is he needing all of this recognition? So it was kind of a psychogram or psychoanalysis of Muhammad. So that's how this book became. And I was inspired also by Freud, who was making a psychoanalysis of Moses, although he never saw him, and although also the historic material about Moses are very limited, almost non-existent. So through the religious text about Moses, Freud was making a psychoanalysis of Moses. So through the stories about Muhammad and through the Quran, I was matching the biography of Muhammad with the Quran, and I could get a clear psychology of a person who developed over time, who was sensitive and peaceful as long as he didn't have an army, as long as he didn't have power. So he was refusing violence when he himself could not act violently. And the moment he had his army, the moment he had his power, everything changed, and his attitude to violence changed. So we have Muhammad of Mecca, and we have Muhammad in the first 2 years in Medina, and we have another Muhammad in the last 8 years in Medina. So I'm describing the development of his psychology over time. What happened in his life that made him change like this? First, he tried peacefully. He said, God speaks to me. And he was offering people the best passages of Quran, the poetic, the tolerant, the humanistic side. There is a part like this in the Quran. But no one responded. They said, meh, we are not interested. We heard of that so many times before. And then he was having an army. He was stealing the caravans of the tribes, and he was taking them as war prisoners. And all of a sudden, everybody wanted to be a Muslim. So this is as easy as that. That's the development. People were not impressed by the passage of Quran. In fact, the Quran in Medina is very boring. It's talking about legislations and about like inheriting, and this one gets the third, this one gets the fifth, this one gets the sixth, and so on. It's very, very boring, the Quran of Medina compared to the Quran of Mecca. But many people converted to Islam in Arabia during this time after Muhammad became a warlord, because they knew he can bring them some profits. And Muhammad was not evil by nature. He's just a human being with both sides, good and evil. So of course he offered the Arabs, he put them on the map. He put the Arabic language on the map. There was no single book in Arabic until this day. There was no single mentioning of the word Arabs as an identity. There were some tribes with different dialects. So he united them, and he made an empire out of them. So he's kind of Genghis Khan. Yeah, people don't like to hear it that way, but that's what happened. If Genghis Khan had a book, we will all now be discussing in Europe about how to integrate the Genghis Khanis. But he didn't have a book. So his culture just developed with time. He didn't say that God was speaking to him. So that's it. That's how Islam started to spread. The moment it became an empire, it became very attractive to the rulers who came after that. Wait a minute. There is a book here about a prophet who was saying you should die for the cause of God. You should raise jihad. You should pay tax to the ruler. We love this religion. So every ruler was making a lot of money and a lot of conquest in the name of this prophet, in the name of this religion. So why renounce it? Why fight it? It's good. It keeps the poor happy and it keeps the powerful happy. The poor is waiting for paradise after death, and the powerful is getting more tax, is getting his wars done, is getting people shut their mouths. My problem with Muhammad is not what he has done in his time. My problem with Muhammad is that he is still governing us from his grave. He is still deciding the politics in Denmark 1400 years after his death. That's why we should discuss more about Muhammad. It's not about religious tolerance. Everybody can do in his religion what he wants. There are, in fact, some shaman religions where people meet in the forest and take off all their clothes, only men, and they pee on a hot stone. And that's their religious rituals. I have no problem with that. Everybody can pee in the forest. Of course, they have to follow the EU regulation of fire making and all of these things that's needed. The problems start when they want to pee on a hot stone in the school and in Rathausplatz and in Stroll and all the shopping centers and in the hospitals. Then we have to engage with them and say, no, you should not pee here. And that's what we are doing with the Islamist group all the time. I thought we are not going to negotiate these things in Europe anymore. It's not needed. We are not going to negotiate about women's rights. Again, it's clear. We are not going to discuss child marriage. It's gone. No, it's not. With the immigration, we have to open these files again and say, okay, how to make everybody happy, how to find a compromise. And there are certain things you cannot compromise about. You cannot compromise about Sharia because there is no Sharia light. There is no diet Sharia. Once the people who ask for Sharia get the first law, they will want to have all of the Sharia because they believe this is the right law because it comes down from God. That's my problem with Muhammad, because he implanted these ideas in the collective memory of Muslims. It's not what he has done back then. It's that he is a role model today, not only for Muslims in the Muslim world, but for Muslims in Europe. And therefore, we should never stop discussing about this figure. We should never, out of false tolerance, say, no, let them do what they want. This is the wrong thing. The best thing you can offer immigrants in Europe is access to freedom, access to free spirit, access to courage to discuss and to raise questions. By leaving everybody in his enclave or in his ghetto, you are not helping them, you are not tolerant, you are just indifferent, and you make things worse. This is how it works. And that's why I write my books. To remind you and others always that we should remain alert, but we should do it humanistically. It doesn't mean that I have problems with Islam and Muhammad. It doesn't mean that I go and take the rights of Muslims away. No. I still believe in the freedom of religion. I still believe that Muslims should practice their religion like every other person. But freedom of religion doesn't mean you can do everything in the name of religion. And freedom of faith is a package of 3 freedoms. It's the freedom to practice your religion, it's the freedom to leave your religion, and it's the freedom to criticize this religion. You cannot have one without the other. This is the pact. This is the package. And many Muslim organizations want to have only 1/3 of the package, just to practice in the name of religion. But they don't want to have the other thirds, which are as important and even for me more important. Because the religion, without criticism of religion, becomes dictatorship, becomes triumph. And Europe developed after it could overcome the tribal thinking. And now, I'm so sorry to say, the tribal thinking is coming back to Europe. Not only through Muslim organizations who are conservative. Tribal thinking is coming back through identity politics from the right and from the left. Identity politics means the individual is no longer important. We deal with people as groups. So if I'm a right wing, so you are immigrant, I don't like you. That can destroy Europe. And for the left wing, if you are Muslim, if you wear a headscarf, if you are black, then you are my friend. And if you are white, then you are racist by nature. This will destroy Europe. So the far right and the far left are not any better than the Islamists, because they don't see the human being as an individual. They see him as a member of a group, and they don't respect his individuality, and they judge him by his skin color or by his religion. So we should take care that this tribalism of Islam is not going to create or nourish the tribalism of the left and the tribalism of the right. Stay in the middle. If you are conservative or liberal, it doesn't matter. But stay in the middle and be on the side of freedom. And be on the side of human being, no matter if he is Muslim, Christian, atheist, or whatever. Because this is going to save this society and keep it going. But going back to this tribalism is destroying countries, is stealing its elan vital away. The Muslim world one day was having a unique chance to be a developed civilization in the Middle Ages. After it discovered the Greek philosophy and the Greek science, they started developing that. Many people in the Muslim world during that time were engaged, Jews and Christians and Persians. And therefore we had this culture starting in Baghdad and in Cordoba and in Granada. But then the huge mistake of the Muslim world happened. It started to revive the tribalism, and it started to look as minority down. And it started to judge people by their faith, where they come from. And it started to isolate itself from the rest of the world. They start not to translate anymore. This was the end of the so-called Islamic civilization or culture, which was not Islamic by nature. It was international, because it didn't start in Mecca and Medina where Islam started. It started in Baghdad, where all of these cultures came together. And it went to Andalusia, But then, because of tribalism and isolation, they lost everything, and you know now where the Islamic world is economically and politically. Europe should not make the same mistake, should not revive tribalism again. We should come back and see the human being, no matter if his name is Caspar or Ali or Ahmed. It doesn't matter. And the best thing we can offer both is freedom, self-ständigkeit or independence, and the self-responsibility, and the concept of right tolerance, not the false tolerance. I'm tolerant, so I can criticize you. I take you serious, so I can criticize you. But the tolerance that is based on, I'm afraid to tell you my opinion, because I'm afraid of your emotions, this is not tolerance. The tolerance which is based on indifference is not tolerance. So the real tolerance for me is to paint Muhammad, to criticize him, and still deal with Muslims with respect and not look down at them. The one who is standing in front of you today used to be a Muslim brother, an Islamist who hates the West. And I could change because of common sense, because of reason, because I had a chance. And many people in this society and in the Islamic world never got this chance. But they deserve it. If they will get this chance, they might change too. I know so many. I have a YouTube channel. After I started writing my books in German, I didn't feel comfortable. I wanted to communicate with the country I come from and the people I come. So I made a YouTube channel in Arabic. You can check it out. It's called Hamid.tv. It has today over 35 million views. I was so surprised how fast it was spread among young people. And I criticize Muhammad. I say exactly the same things what I said here. I say it there. And it was embraced by so many young women and men in the Muslim world. And they say, thank you. We have never thought about it from this perspective. So this is happening there. After I wrote my books and I made these channels, I was invited by people in Morocco and in Tunisia to have speeches and to appear in the TV and in Morocco and in Lebanon. And people are considering my work there to be enlightenment. But in Europe, they say Islamophobic. See the contrast. See where the problem is. My work is considered to be enlightenment in the Arab world, but it's considered Islamophobia in the West. So there's something wrong in the culture of debate in the West. There's something wrong in the identity politics. People are asking me, why do you criticize your people? I told him, my people are German. I live in Germany, I'm German citizen. Why you still insist that I'm an immigrant? Why you still insist that I'm a Muslim that has to defend his Islam? This is called tribalism. You expect the Muslim always to defend Islam. Why? And by the way, yes, I'm a German citizen. My last book was full of criticism of Germany and the politics of Germany and the identity in Germany. And it became a bestseller in Germany. It had nothing to do with Islam. And Germans embraced my criticism and they accepted it. So why, when it comes to Islam, you come and tell me you should defend Islam, you should not? And that's what the mistake of many politicians. When they want to invite Muslims for dialogue, they invite a woman with headscarf, a man with a beard who is representing a certain community. Now they can do no mistakes. But they avoid inviting critical thinkers or people like me because they don't want to hurt the feelings. Why are you dealing with Muslims as children? They are not children. And those who act like children should be excluded. This is how it should go. And that's what I'm doing. I take Muslims seriously. I respect them. It's my culture. It's my family. Therefore, I criticize Islam and I criticize Muhammad. I think that criticizing Islam is not only a human right, but a human duty today. Thank you for your attention. And see you after the break.